In this video, along with the help of some others, I'm actually going to be showing you a tool called Analyzer Tool. And to help you understand what it is really quickly, it is a tool that will essentially compare your product source, your product list from your suppliers to what items are selling for on Amazon and show you the ones that are going to be the most profitable. It's an automated version of this. It's an extremely powerful tool. And when I was preparing to create this tutorial, I actually reached out to Alex and he agreed to hop on the phone with me and show it to you himself. Now, that I was going to take advantage of because Alex is actually the developer of this tool. And you'll hear later on that he actually developed this as an Amazon seller to solve a problem that he was having analyzing products, because he knew that he needed to be able to do this faster and easier and get the right information, accurate information. And so with that said, I'm actually going to show you a recording of this call that we had with a group of our students so that you can actually see exactly what it does from the man himself that actually created this tool. So I'm going to go jump over to that right now.
Something simple. I totally agree. So anyways, thank you for taking a minute to answer some questions for us, Alex. We're excited. And just to give some background on Alex, everyone, Alex actually developed this tool as an Amazon seller, which is why it's so effective. And it provides all of the information that you need to analyze, massive amounts of product, massive number of different products, all at the same time, give you very, very accurate information so that you can make better decisions in your business without spending, the time that you already don't have, right? So with that said, we're thankful that you'll take a few minutes with us, Alex. But if you could run us through the tool and show us, how we can effectively use that as well, that would be amazing. And thank you for doing that for us.
Sure. Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah, we can see it here, and I'll pop my face off here so we can make it a little bit more of that perfect. There you go.
There we go. Okay, so I'm going to start off with just doing a quick demo of how the program works, and then I'll get into some features and things. First and foremost, I designed the program to be as simple as you want it to be. So there are some very powerful and some pretty complex features that you can get into if you want to, but you don't need to. So on the surface, it looks very simple by design. So what you're looking at here is the dashboard, and here are the different types of searches that you can do. The spreadsheet search is really the primary search. That is where you receive a spreadsheet from a supplier of hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of products, and you need to be able to analyze those products, and you just can't do that manually. It's impossible. You need a program to help you do it. So I'm going to focus on this feature most here, and I've got an example here of, what a spreadsheet typically looks like. This is kind of a test sheet that I put together. Clearly, I've got a bunch of blahs in here. This isn't real, but you could imagine that this came from a supplier, and you've got your product identifier. In this case, it's a UPC. It could also be an EAN or an ASIN or an ISBN. And you've got, your purchase price from the supplier, and a bunch of other information that they may provide to you. The first thing you would do here is you would load a spreadsheet like that. This is the same spreadsheet here into the program, select your columns, and you click run. So as soon as you click run, you're going to see that the processing statistics here will start running, and you can actually click into the results and see the products start to come in. In order to save some time here, I ran a list just before this call. You can see it's this list right here that I ran on 4/17. I'm going to open that up as just a basis to work from. You can see we just loaded 471 rows into the results tab here. So you can see this is the results tab. This is where you do a lot of the grunt work. One thing that's unique about Analyzer tools is the program was really designed to allow you to get away from Excel as much as possible. Excel is very, very helpful, but it can be clunky. And it's really not the most efficient way to analyze products. You have to do the same repetitive tasks over and over again, and it's just not really that efficient. And I'm going to demonstrate that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to analyze this sheet, right? I'm going to go through what my normal process would be, and I'm going to do the long way first, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut. First and foremost, you could look at all the information that the program provides. There's a bunch of stuff here, right? Including these test columns that it'll bring in from your spreadsheet. You know, the one nice thing about the software is it's very flexible. You can move columns very easily. You can actually add columns into the view. For example, you know, let's say I wanted model number and I wanted it there. I could just simply drag it in, and now I have, you know, the model number there. If I want to remove that column, I just drag it away. You know, a parent's ASIN. So there's additional data that's not in the standard view that you can drag in, and so you could really customize what you want to see. So I'm going to get into actually filtering this down. So for me, the first thing I do is I look at sales rank. You could also look at estimated number of sales, which is really a gauge of sales rank and product group. But once you really get experienced, you kind of know what sales ranks to look for. I'm going to keep this pretty simple here for demo purposes. And I'm just going to say that I'm looking for numbers that are sales ranks that are less than or equal to, let's just say 100,000. And you can see what it did. It actually filtered it live and very quickly. So you see there are a bunch of blanks here. That's because these actually don't have any offers, right? And there's a whole strategy behind looking for products that have 0 offers. I'm not going to focus on that here, but so for the purposes of this, I'm also going to I'm going to look at profit, and I'm going to say if it's actually I'm going to do this. I'm going to do if sales rank. Let's do a custom filter. So sales rank is less than or equal to 100,000, and is not null. So null means no number. There we go. So now you can see how the filters can get pretty advanced, and the program gives you the ability to do some pretty precise filtering. So the next thing I'll do is I'm going to go to profit. I'm going to say that I want profit to be greater than or equal to, let's call it $4. You can see that list of 400 something products, almost 500 products, is now a very short list. You can see these colors also kind of help you very quickly see the good cells versus what, you know, the favorable cells versus the less favorable cells. Now I'm also going to filter by ROI. I'm going to say that I'd like ROI to be greater than or equal to, you know, and I'm just making stuff up here. You can have your own numbers, but, you know, I'm going to say 40%. So I just did this whole filtering thing, and I could filter any column in that way. Every one of these columns has that functionality. I could look at, you know, I could add a filter for the number of FBA offers, so I'm not competing with a listing that has too many offers, you know, or any of these. So you could just imagine the possibilities there. Or I could filter by, is it sold by Amazon or not? Let's say I don't want to compete with Amazon. I could simply filter those out. So now I've got a very short list. You can see here at the bottom, I've got all my filters displayed so I can keep track of them. And if I click here on Edit Filter, you can see I get into a little bit more advanced filter view. And I could add some pretty advanced filters and conditions in this view as well. This is a little bit more advanced, and so you can get into this if you want to, but you don't need to. You can use the filters up there. You could also change, now that I'm on this list here, you could also update the calculations for FBA, which is what we're looking at here, or fulfilled by merchant. just depending on what your fulfillment style is. Once you're kind of down to a short list here, I always like to fill in and use these filter options for things like inbound shipping. You're going to spend some money to get the product that you're from the supplier to your home or your warehouse or wherever it is, and then off to Amazon's warehouse. And so I typically use something like $1 per pound just to help me estimate what that will cost. You may have prep fees, and I usually don't use this because I don't typically have prep fees, but if you did, you can add that here, right? So I'm going to say it's 25 cents, but you can see it's filtering live as I go. Tax on sourcing, we also have VAT, whether you're registered or not, and calculate multi-packs. So all of these are options. So the one thing that you'll see is, wow, we put a lot of work in here into these filters, and you may say, hold on, Alex, you told me that this was more efficient than Excel. I could do all of that in Excel. So the one thing that you can't do in Excel, which is a game changer, is you could actually save this view in the program. So I'm going to save this view as demo view 1. And so this is what we call grid views. You can see my grid view change to demo view 1. And if I go back to the default view, which is FBA calculations full, I'll go back to where I started. But you can see I could select demo view 1 and all of the same filters apply. All of the options are saved that you selected. Now you can apply this grid view to every single list moving forward. So what we actually provide as a default view is this, what we call a potential winners view. You could just ignore all the stuff under potential winners view. These are all the things that I've added that are my custom views. But these top 3 are provided by default. So if I click on potential winners view, I can quickly see with one click what my profitable products are based on my search criteria. All of these filters got applied from one click, which makes this whole process very, very efficient. That's not something you can do with Excel. You would have to do and filter the rows and columns manually every single time you run a spreadsheet in Excel. Some other things, you may have noticed, if you hover over sales rank, we do provide Keepa charts that provide historical sales ranks and historical pricing and whether Amazon has been a seller on the listing. So that's a very powerful feature. We also offer links to Camel, and Keepa as well if you'd like to do some additional analysis. So one other thing I'd like to show you here on this grid view that some people that have been using the program for years may not even know about, but I think is a very powerful feature, is you can actually edit some of these cells manually in order to see what happens with your profits and your FBA fees. So let's say, for example, this product here, where my purchase price from my supplier is $8.65, which produces a 57% margin and 308% ROI, right? Let's say this product, I can negotiate, I call my supplier and I negotiate that price down to $7.50. I could simply type that in and you'll see that my ROI, profit, and margin were updated automatically. I could also hover here, as you saw, and see a full kind of breakdown of how the profit is calculated. I can do the same thing for sell price. So let's say I look at the sell price of $65.60, and just, let's just say that, after reviewing the Keepa chart, and this may actually be a perfect example. So if you look at this Keepa chart, you can see that the marketplace new, the purple line, has been somewhere between $25 and $30 for, from November through April. And just recently, the price got jacked up to $65. So no wonder ROI is 350%. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to assume that I'll keep selling at 65 in perpetuity. It's very likely in these situations that that price will go right back down to $25 to $30 at some point. This is one of the mistakes that some new Amazon sellers make, and they'll pay for making this mistake and never make it again, which is they'll assume that it'll just keep selling at the peak price, but you really have to kind of look at the historical and adjust. So let's say I'm going to look at this and say, you know what, the sell price is 65 today, but I'm going to assume that it's going to go back to $30. You could type that in and you can see that the ROI, margin, profit, and the FBA fees, everything got adjusted instantly by typing that in. You know, you also have the ability to edit other, cells, package quantity. You know, sometimes this is something that is, common issue with Amazon. You'll see here, this is a set of 6, right? So this is a multi-pack. We can only work with the data that Amazon provides us, right? And if the metadata on Amazon is wrong, if the seller that created the listing didn't put 6 in the package quantity, there's no way for us to know that that's actually a multi-pack. So you're going to see issues like this. It doesn't matter what program you're using. This is an issue with Amazon's data. You're going to see issues like this where, it's actually a pack of 6, but you see a package quantity of 1 here. Well, I could easily adjust for that. If I put in 6, you could see that now my fees and profit and everything are calculating based on a purchase price of buying 6 units to sell on this listing. So this is some of the flexibility that that the program provides that I think is extremely helpful. This is the stuff I was struggling with when I was an Amazon seller, and I just didn't see other programs offering these kind of features. If you'd like to now export this and work within Excel, or maybe you're just in love with Excel, you can do that. You could export to Excel here, but you could also do something interesting. You could save this file as an AMZ file. And what happens is when you save it as an AMZ file, you can then load it by going to load. You could then load that AMZ file and pick up right where you left off. So let's say you have multiple computers, you could save it in the cloud, or you could use the previous result. So there's a lot of flexibility there. We also allow you to run this tool in any North American or EU marketplace, as long as you have the credentials to do so. And there's some other cool kind of features here, that in settings, we're using a dark theme here now. Some people may not like dark. You can see we've got a bunch of them. If you want white, we could do a white theme, or different versions of white. So you could really customize this in different ways. I prefer the dark theme, so that's what I use. That's the high-level analysis of the spreadsheet search. There are some additional kind of more advanced functionality I won't get into too much detail about, but you can see here, for example, if I go to conditional formatting, I could very quickly do some things like highlight cell rules. This is similar to Excel. Top and bottom rules that I could apply. All of these, by the way, after applied, if you save it as your grid view, it'll save within that grid view for your next spreadsheet. We could add data bars and just kind of different things, and you could create rules, which can get really interesting. So all of these colored cells that you see here are actually rules that we set up, and you see them in here by default. You could create, different rules. I mean, you could just see that as you dig, there are more and more features and functionality in here that you don't have to use. You may not even know this existed, and you may have been a customer for years. But if you'd like to really get into it, you can, and this gives you the ability to do that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. And I want to point out here a couple things, right? Because if you look at Alex, clearly he knows a lot about Excel, right? He's basically created his own version where applicable to Amazon with a number of features that are unbelievable, right? And the thing that I like the most is you have that guy putting preset algorithms to process your products to help you save your time, even if you have no idea how to use it from day one. You can upload a list. You can go in and put a different grid view on for the potential winners. And even if you just do that, think of the amount of time that saves you. And I know, Alex, you're thinking in your mind, no kidding, right? Like because I've used a lot of different programs. I've used a lot of different things. And as you become a more experienced Amazon seller, you're going to know your metrics. You'll create your own grid view. You'll get a supplier list, and within minutes you'll be able to know what you can do with that right away. And you'll know the ones that you need to buy, and you'll know the ones that are going to make you money. And how powerful is that from a time saving standpoint? I just wanted to put that in there for you, Alex. You can go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off at all.
Oh, no, just jump in anytime. Absolutely. I want to keep this, educational and, without going into every minor detail. So, the two other, little things that I'll point out is, we do have a universal search here as well, which, if I type, you'll see that it'll filter automatically and it'll highlight what you're looking for. That could be, a very simple but pretty useful tool. And then we also have the ability to refresh. So let's say you ran this file, a week ago. Well, you know what? Things change. Things change sometimes by the minute. You could very easily, select your stuff here, and you could either refresh all or selected rows, and it'll actually refresh and it'll update the last run date and time for you, so that you don't have to run the entire thing over again. You could refresh selected rows or the whole thing, or whatever you want to do. So that's sort of the main functionality, of the spreadsheet search. We also have, just very briefly, the browser search. Now, browser is sort of interesting if you're doing like reverse sourcing, and you want to go into, it actually pulls up an Amazon, Amazon in a browser, and just to kind of demonstrate, I'm just going to pick something random here. I'm just going to dig into cat food. Let's say we want dry cat food. You could see that on this page it found 29 products, but there are a bunch of pages. There's 64 pages, and we have this checkbox here of scrape next page automatically. All you have to do is click go. You can see that page is loaded, and once you hit run here, what it's going to do is it's actually going to go in and pull all of those products from that page, and it's going to put them right back in to the view here. See, it's processing all of this data right in front of you, and these are all of the products on that page. And so this could be really interesting because you can get a lot of the same, or really all of the same information, and you could pull it from Amazon. You could look at bestseller lists. You could look at competing sellers. That's another thing you can do here. And I'm going to actually stop this, so I think you guys get the point. And you can do some reverse sourcing. Also, a very quick and easy thing is, you could do quick check, which is, look, I've just got one ASIN or one UPC. I'd want to check really quick. You can just paste it in here with the price, and it'll instantly load it into the results. So that is Analyzer Tools.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's super cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You can tell I use the tool quite a bit.
What did you say, Mike?
I said, so Alex, I'm excited, man. I want you to touch on this new up and coming web-based platform. We've been talking about it here for a while, and I'm super excited to see it. Do you have a little bit of time to maybe touch on some of that?
Yeah, sure. So just to update everyone, here we have been in development on the web version, on the web application of the Windows tool you just saw. So the tool you just saw works perfect for Windows, but we have, people are using Mac and Chrome and all these different types of operating systems and browsers now. And maybe some people are on the go and want something that's browser based. So we had to basically start from scratch and rebuild and create the a web tool. A lot of our customers want this. And what you're looking at here is the beta version of that. This is not live yet to anyone but a small group. We've got about 30 of our existing customers helping us beta test this right now. What you're looking at here is actually going to get completely redesigned before it's launched. I've got a really high-end design firm that's going to totally redo this and make it look even better. But basically, you're going to see some of the same functionality in a web application with some additional very interesting features. I'll just load, for example, the same load test for Spreadsheet here into the web application. And you can see that, and I could make the screen look bigger there. You can see that we have a lot of the same columns and a lot of the same data here in a web format. We still have all of the grid views and all of the functionality, and we still have, all of the filters and everything else that makes the Windows software very powerful. But we also have some things like, favorite products, for example. So I can create, I could create a list or select an existing list. Let's say this is my ABC supplier. So let's say I want to add that to this, add a new list. So now I could see, this is saying that this is in the US marketplace, my ABC supplier. And there we go. I've just added that product now to my favorites, and you can see that this little star is now orange to indicate that it's a favorites item. So now, for example, just a demo, you can see that that is now listed here. And voila, there it is. So kind of a simple thing that I think is going to be very powerful. That has a lot of functionality if you really start thinking about it, and how to organize your suppliers and your winning products and things like that. But we're going to be adding really a lot of things to this web application. This is really the application of the future for us. And the first phase is we're basically replicating all of the stuff that we have in the Windows application, plus some additional features like the favorites that I just showed you. And then once that phase is complete, we're going to really start adding additional functionality and expanding the functionality in a really exciting way. We're going to have historical Keepa data in here. We're going to have all sorts of stuff in here when we launch. And I'm just really excited about it. And to keep with the theme of,
So I've decided to cut the video here because there really is not a great stopping point, because the information that Alex shares is so valuable. And from here, he goes on for about 20 minutes about his, background and his experience with Amazon, but it doesn't really pertain to this tutorial. So if you would like the full version of that call, I'll see what I can do to make it available in the members area or the resource center in the members area. But other than that, this is the analyzer tool with Alex himself, the developer of this tool. And it is a very powerful tool that we highly recommend for product analysis.